Hello and welcome to another edition of Focus on Morris County. I'm Joe Garifo, Public Information Director for the Morris County Government. Focus on Morris County is a program that's designed to keep us up to date on the actions that are being taken by the Morris County Board of Freeholders. The show is also intended to make us all more aware of the many facets of Morris County government. For example, on this segment of the program, we are going to learn about MAPS. Now, MAPS is a transportation program for certain segments of the population here in Morris County. And here to tell us about MAPS are my guests. First, to my left, Hope Heasel. Hope is the Director of Special Transportation within the Morris County Division on Aging, Disabilities, and Veterans. And that division is within the Morris County Department of Human Services, and that's why our other guest, Frank Pinto, is with us today. Frank is the Director of the Department of Human Services. Folks, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. Frank, I want to start with you. We're talking about MAPS. I assume that we're not talking about the maps that you read, but I figure that MAPS is an acronym. What does it stand for?
Yes, it's the Morris Area Paratransit System. It's formed in 1987. We believe April was the first ride, so we're going to be hitting our 25th anniversary this April.
What exactly is MAPS? Explain what it is and who the patrons are.
It's a special transportation service designed for seniors over the age of 60, individuals with disabilities, as well as people that are in the rural parts of the county. We can provide rides for essentially a bus service for the rural areas.
When you say rides, what kinds of trips are eligible riders taking?
The primary focus and the goal, the areas that we want to focus on are employment, medical appointments, and educational rides for those individuals that qualify. We're also giving rides to the county's nutrition centers and adult daycare centers as needed and as available. There is high demand for the program that Hope will talk about in a little while. The off-peak hours is when we really go to the adult daycare centers and the nutrition sites.
Mm-hmm. Hope, let me turn to you now. In terms of areas serviced by the MAPS program, I understand that Morris County is divided into 3 different regions. Give us the regions, if you will, and while you're doing that, telephone number to call for people who might want to make a reservation on MAPS.
Okay. The northern region is covered by the Jefferson Township Dial-A-Ride. That telephone number is 973-208-6123. The northeastern region, which covers the areas of Butler, Kinnelon, Lincoln Park, Pequannock, and Riverside, is provided by the Five-Town Dial-A-Ride, and that number is 973-835-8885. And then the rest of the county is covered by the MAPS program, and that number is 888-282-6277.
Okay, and we should say that it's Riverdale, not Riverside, which is
yes,
fine.
Riverdale.
I'm sure the folks knew it was Riverdale. Now, in asking that question, I said, if people wanted to call to make a reservation, so obviously you do need to make a reservation.
Correct.
For the MAPS program. How far in advance would you suggest folks give you a call?
We look for at least 48 hours notice. If it's an important appointment that you really want to make sure that you have a reservation for, then at least a week's notice is really preferred. But we can do them up to 48 hours notice.
Okay. And I've been saying give people a call, give the MAPS program a call, but recently the MAPS program introduced reservations by email. Frank, tell us about that. What led up to that, and why was that done?
Just to provide better service and better opportunities. Some people are, seniors and disabled are very active on the internet, so let's give them the opportunity to make an email reservation. They can do so by emailing maps@co.morris.nj.us. That information is also posted on our departmental website, morrishumanservices.org.
Hope, back to you now. If a town has its own transportation system, should an individual check with his or her town first before calling MAPS?
Absolutely. If it's a quick trip across town, then it's a lot easier for them to do it, and that would free us up to do the longer trips, maybe across county, that may take up more time. So that way we work better with the towns and provide more transportation.
Hope, when does the MAPS program operate?
We operate during normal business hours, Monday through Friday. We start at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we will go till 6 o'clock at night. But what we usually have happen is from 6 until about 8:30 in the morning, our buses are all filled with employment runs. So we are at max at this point. And then starting around 8:30 till about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we do more of the curb-to-curb on-demand service, which would be medical appointments, maybe going to school, and we do some employment rides there also. And then we finish up the end of the day with employment runs again.
Now, one segment of the population that is eligible to use MAPS are senior citizens.
Correct.
Give us an idea as to the typical senior who might be using MAPS and where he or she might be going.
Senior citizens usually have used MAPS for about 3 years. They go once or twice a month, and they usually use us for medical appointments.
What about the person with disabilities? Where would that individual typically be heading on a MAPS vehicle?
A lot of our numbers show that people with disabilities, they tend to ride 3 or more times a week, and they use us more for employment, and they're on the program for a lot longer, maybe 10 years or more.
You mentioned numbers. Talk about the numbers and the ridership of MAPS. What are the numbers? What do they look like? Have they gone up, gone down in recent years?
Since 2006, we've seen an increase of about 19%. In 2006, we provided about 59,000 rides, whereas in 2011, we topped over 70,000 rides.
Wow. Now, to what would you attribute that dramatic increase?
In 2007, we ended up going out to bid for a new computerized software program called Route Match, and that allows us to optimize the best runs or the best routes. It puts everything in, and then gives us back what they think to be the best route possible, and it cuts down a lot of downtime.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of seconds ago going from one end of the county to the other on a MAPS vehicle. Do you stay within Morris County? Do you ever take trips outside of Morris County? And if so, I mean, you don't. I'm sure you don't go down to like Vineland or something. But
right.
What are the routes normally?
We normally are within the county, but we can go up to about 5 miles outside of the county. So if someone lives in the northeastern part of the county, or the eastern part, you may go over into a different county for, say, summer. Hospital services outside the county, because that's closer than coming all the way back to Morristown Memorial.
Okay. Talk about the vehicles. What kinds of vehicles does MAPS use?
We have an assortment of vehicles. We have buses that are wheelchair or assisted device equipped. We have minivans. We have ones that have ramps, so we can also use those for people who use assisted devices. We have sedans, we have station wagons, we have an assortment that we can provide, whatever is needed.
Yeah, how many vehicles and how many drivers does MAPS have?
We have about 40 vehicles, and right now we have 27 drivers that are using those vehicles.
Now, do the drivers undergo any kind of special training? Do they have to be certified or anything before they are allowed to drive a MAPS vehicle?
Yes, we all of our drivers have CDL, commercial driver's license, and we also do trainings 4 times a year. They attend the county defensive driving program. We have other internal trainings like bloodborne pathogens and how to deal with those kind of issues. And then we will also send them out for passenger safety training also down in Somerset County and other nearby areas.
Okay. And for our viewers who might be interested in taking a MAPS ride for a specific purpose, what is the charge? What do you charge the riders?
We primarily take donations, so there is no charge. We have started a pilot program in which, for employment purposes, we will ask for tax records, and there may be a slight cost share applied to that. But for the most part, it's a free service, and we accept donations.
Frank, I assume that with that kind of a nominal fee or no fee, MAPS receives funding from other sources. What would they be?
Yeah, there's a variety of sources. The total MAPS budget is roughly about $2 million per year. Of that, about 30% is county tax dollars. The rest, we're using that county dollars to leverage a match for federal and state funding. But the primary other source is the casino revenue funding, the Atlantic City dollars and the lottery dollars. That then gets transmitted to us. The trend we've seen, though, Joe, is that those dollars have been shrinking. So we are really looking for other sources, and the donations certainly help offset the county tax dollars that are needed.
Now, Frank, earlier you mentioned the email reservation system implemented for more efficiency, for the convenience of MAPS riders. What are some other efficiencies that MAPS has implemented in recent years?
Right.
Again, to enhance efficiency.
Yeah, the nutrition program, which is the senior congregate meals and Meals on Wheels program, Route Match software is being utilized for that program. It's all within the same Department of Human Services. So that we've put in all the addresses for all of the residences that are getting, the seniors that are homebound, that are getting meals. And we've basically optimized the routes for the deliveries of those services. So we've really, it's a nice match between Hope's program and Teresa Davis and Ophelia Cruz's programs that are doing the nutrition. And it's helped that program as well to be more efficient.
Yeah, and I imagine that the in terms of efficiency, the homebound seniors who get the meals a little bit warmer than they normally would if they come to them quicker.
Yes, absolutely. And we have the hotshot trucks, which help deliver them warm too. Related to that, we have a nutrition bid that went out and into effect in 2012. Sodexo Services, that's doing our food service at the Morrisview Healthcare Center, is also providing all of the meals for the nutrition program now. So we're getting a real nice cohesive food delivery and transportation system within our department, which it's really now starting to pay off, and we should see some savings in terms of tax dollars.
Hope, I'm going to ask you to once again give us the regions and telephone numbers to call if somebody wanted to take advantage of the MAPS program.
The northern region, which is covered by the Jefferson Township Dial Ride, the number is 973-208-6123. There's the northeast region, covered by the Five-Town Dial Ride, which covers Butler, Kinnelon, Lincoln Park, Pequannock, and Riverdale. That number is 973-835-8885. And then the remainder of the county is covered by MAPS, and the telephone number there is 888-282-6277.
And don't forget the reservation by email address that you can use for MAPS. That's maps@co.morris.nj.us. Hope and Frank, thank you both very much for being with us today.
Thanks, Jim.
Now, if you have a question about county government that you would like to have answered, you can call the Morris County Freeholders office at 973-285-6010. You may also visit the county government's website. That's morriscountynj.gov. Once you're there, please sign up for the electronic newsletter, Morris County Connections, to keep you up to date on county government news. Also, check us out on all the other social media that Morris County uses, including Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, YouTube, and Scribd. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm John Pecoraro, surrogate of Morris County. If a loved one passes away and you need to transfer property to their heirs, you must come to the surrogate's court. This is true even if the deceased did not have a will. This process is known as probate. Now, probate in New Jersey is not overly complicated, and my staff is available to assist you. If you have any questions, please call my office at 973-285-6500 or visit our website at morrissurrogate.com.
Welcome back to Focus on Morris County. I'm Joe Garifo, and I'm joined on this segment of the program by one of the newest members of the Morris County Board of Chosen Freeholders, Hank Lyon. Freeholder Lyon is a Republican from the Towacco section of Montville, and he's been on the board since March of 2012, which is why I said he is one of the newest members of the Freeholder Board. Freeholder Lyon, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me.
As I mentioned that you are one of the newest members of the Freeholder Board, there may be some folks who are not that familiar with you and your background. So why don't you give us a little thumbnail resume, if you will.
Sure. Well, when I'm not acting as freeholder, I work in the family business. That consists of 3 Qdoba Mexican grills and 2 Maggie Moo's ice cream and treateries. It's an ice cream store, both national franchises. As you mentioned, I live in the Towacco section of Montville, where I've resided my entire life. The only brief period when I wasn't there was when I was in college. I'm a graduate at the College of the Holy Cross up in Massachusetts. I studied physics and economics, and the joke, as I tell people that, is always, why does a physics major go into politics? But that's for another time.
Actually, that was going to be one of my questions. Not so much why does a physics major go into politics, but why did you want to become a freeholder?
Sure. Well, I've been very, very interested in public service for a long time. I grew up in a conservative family that loved talking about politics, and generally it was national issues. But so as I grew up, I started really enjoying it, started to read a lot of books, and at some point in college I decided, I really want to get into public office and, kind of promote the ideas that I really cherish. And so when I ran quite recently after graduating, and so I started looking, where do I think I can make the biggest difference? Where do I think a conservative voice is most needed? And I ultimately decided on the Freeholder board.
Now, there are some who would say that to be a freeholder, you should have experience at the municipal level or
Sure.
at the local level. Then there are others who would say, well, maybe that's having a fresh approach is a good thing. Where do you stand on that? Because I know this is the first elected position you've had. Is that a detriment or an advantage, do you think?
I think it's a great asset. As I campaigned, people regularly, they expressed a desire to get away from business as usual. And obviously, being somebody who's never been in elected office, I have served on the Housing Committee, a commission in Montville, but never being in elected office, business as usual, doesn't really apply to me. I don't have a usual way of doing my politics. And I think the next 20 years of government is going to be significantly different than the last 20 years of government. And so I think particularly at this moment where just in general, our whole country, our state, we're at a unique juncture, I think having that fresh perspective is particularly important.
As a freeholder in Morris County, each of the 7 members of the board have a role as a liaison to one of the various departments or components of county government. What is your main liaison, and what have you learned about that particular department since you've been on the board?
Well, when I originally was on the board, I was actually the deputy liaison to the Department of Information Services, which is IT, the county library, things of that nature. However, as you mentioned, now I'm actually the second most recent, and I've actually now am the liaison to the Department of Public Works, which is in charge of engineering, any type of engineering project we take, the county roads, county bridges. Most bridges in Morris County are county bridges. And I think that that's a really unique position for me to be in. I'm also on the Capital Ordinance Budget Subcommittee. And so we review any type of bonding that we do. And typically that's arising from the Department of Public Works, more often than not. So I think that gives me a really unique perspective. And it's a big department because we have a lot of county roads. Bridges are unbelievably expensive. You'd really be amazed. And so a lot of money goes through there. It's a very vital service, obviously. One of the most legitimate functions of government is to provide a good transportation network to create a thriving economy. So I've really enjoyed that, and I've really jumped in completely in. I literally have met with the county engineer now at several bridges. We've gone under them, taken a look at them. He's explained to me what the rationale is when we decide to replace a bridge. So we've done that 3 or 4 times. I've gone and met with just about every member practically of the Public Works team. I've been going around on Friday afternoons and having tours. So it's been an awesome experience.
Now, since you've been on the board, one of the major initiatives that the freeholders have taken was a program that deals with residential properties that are the subject of repetitive and destructive flooding. It's a flood mitigation program that's actually a part of the county's open space program. Why did the board initiate this program?
Well, I think the most obvious reason is flood mitigation, hence the name of the program. And floods, I think that there's several major components of the problems with floods. There's the obvious, human devastation. What happens? I mean, these people lose everything in their property. Before I got onto the Freeholder board, I was a member at Jacksonville Chapel, and they actually go around to the Pequannock Lincoln Park area and help people after these major floods. And as I went in, I mean, we had to throw out every single piece of furniture these people had, completely rip out all of their sheetrock and everything. So there is that very obvious human toll that occurs. But then also from the expense side, from government's perspective, the amount of money that government has to invest in public safety to go in there, the risk that they take, the improvements that have to be made where it floods, it's very, very expensive. And so I think the rationale of the flood mitigation program is to come in buy these properties that just flood repeatedly, year in, year out. And by doing so, we decrease the human toll, but also we save money for the county and the local municipality.
Yeah, and I guess we should note at this point that it is the town or the municipality that is purchasing the residents from willing sellers, and not just coming in and saying, we're going to take this.
It's no type of condemnation. It's completely willing.
Yeah.
If you don't want to sell your house, we don't even approach you.
Now, do you know, have any properties been given preliminary approval yet for purchase?
Yes. So right now, we've preliminarily approved about $6 million in purchases. Now, that comes primarily from a FEMA program where FEMA will actually provide 75% of the funding and the county will come in and provide 25% match. And so that's the number we're at, but we're expecting that to continue to grow.
Now that you're on the Freeholder board, are there any specific areas or concerns or issues that you would like to see the board as a whole address?
Sure. My approach to the board, particularly in the next few years, and I think that of a significant number of us, is we're starting off from the perspective that we were elected to lower taxes and to reduce the spending at the county. And the reason for that is I think just the average taxpayer, I mean, when I went door to door, people were telling me regularly, I can't afford to live here anymore because the taxes are exorbitant, but the value of my house has gone down because of the recession, so I'm between a rock and a hard place. So I kind of take that as the starting point. We have to look at it as though we're not going to raise taxes. Now, how do we get there? And so that's the type of programs we're going to be looking at. Now, I think one of the most interesting areas we're looking at right now that we're actively pursuing is some type of merger between the Park Police and the Sheriff's Department. That's been studied about, I'm going to say, within the last few years it's been studied. And the Sheriff's Department did a study, the Park Police did a study, and interestingly enough, both sides agreed that a merger made sense. And in either case, it would save money. I mean, I think we're going to be looking at a multi-million-dollar savings, and that's in particular something I'd like to see tackled, very shortly. We're also continuing a practice that we started several years ago. Several years ago at Morrisview Healthcare Center, the board brought in an outside company to come in and run it. And when we did that, we saw two things. One, we saw increase in the quality of care, which is probably the most important thing. But number two, we also saw a big savings on our tax effort that we put into Morrisview. And we're continuing with that. We are actively looking to bring in a private entity to provide healthcare services, which again, I think will be a repeat of what we saw last time, better care and at a lowered cost. That's projected to save $300,000. Those are two of the big programs that I think we need to tackle in the near future.
Now, one of the things that I've noticed since you've been on the board is the fact that you enjoy speaking to young adults.
I love it.
Young people. I've seen it when the Freeholders sponsor the Student Government Day. I've seen it when you've spoken to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts who have attended our meetings. Why is that so important to you?
I tend to think, everybody, regardless of your age, everybody loves to, promote young people. But I think the fact that I'm young in and of it myself, you take the Boy Scouts, or the Girl Scouts, I'm just a handful of years older than them. I think it just has a special place in my heart. And when I go to these events where I see young people achieving these great things, that inspires me because I recognize that as I grow older, these are the leaders that I'm going to be working with. And even though the problems that we face will be daunting, their achievements at such a young age give me a tremendous amount of confidence that we will be able to overcome the challenges.
How would you describe your experience as a freeholder to date?
It's been awesome. No, it's been a really fun journey, and I've learned a lot. Particularly, every member of the Freeholder board right now I get along really well with. Now, obviously, we disagree, though, on the issues, occasionally, not always. But what I've really enjoyed kind of watching, but also learning at the same time, is that art of not just voting the way you want to vote, but then actually persuading people to come to your side of thinking. And I think I understand now better than ever why, a truly great elected official becomes a statesman, because, that really it really is a mastery of that ability to persuade others to your way of thinking. And I think that's the part I've enjoyed most. And it makes me eager to continue working on my persuasion skills. And I look forward to see how will I do at it in the future.
Freeholder Hank Lyon, I want to thank you very much for
thank you for having me
with us today and telling us a bit about yourself. And I just want to let you folks know that if you have a question about county government, maybe about something that we did not get a chance to talk about on this segment of the program, you can call the Morris County Freeholders Office at 973-285-6010. Also, visit the county government website at morriscountynj.gov, and when you're there, please sign up for the county government's electronic newsletter, Morris County Connections. And also, please don't hesitate to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Check out our past videos and other videos on YouTube. Visit the Morris County Government Document Library on Scribd, and you can also check out some photos from county government events on Flickr. I'm Joe Garifo. Thank you very much for being with us. Tune in again next week at this time for another edition of Focus on Morris County.